Looks like I got the toughest keynote for today. But I'm going to try to behave and not talk about anything sensitive. Blockchains against corruption. It's a very complicated matter in itself, which I'm going to try to describe and explain and see how it could or could not work and where and how it can apply. But first of all, it's not my first time here. I've been here with the Congress since the beginning, and there's a wonderful work being done, despite of all the whole situation that's going on now. It's the COVID and all these things. But you might have seen me a lot around LinkedIn, posting a lot of different things, because mostly I come from cybersecurity, forensic sciences, and DLT and everything, computing, cloud. It's one of my passions since forever. You can feel free to add me. But how this all started? Where are we going? What's the big change? What's happening? As humanity itself, we started 3,000 years before Christ to domesticate horses. We invented the carriage, and for about 5,000 years, or more than 5,000 years, it was the fastest mean of transportation that we knew. Around 1605, someone invented the first train for basically getting coal from one place to another with 3.2 kilometers of railroad. It has passed another 300 years maybe since we got the first flight. And from there on, only about 66 years to actually get to the moon. So there's a big leap in years, in time, and with technology that changed even more. 6 years, or around 6 years before landing on the moon, we started dabbling with technology information with IBM. That the head of IBM at that time said that he could only see around 4 or 5 computers markets in the world and nobody's going to buy and use it. For the 70s and the 80s, we started adopting more into businesses, banks, and other type of businesses, and into commerce as well. And starting to empower the user, starting to have different type of information, different type of exchanges between universities, and we could communicate around the globe a lot faster. It took us 5,000 years to pass from a horse to a train, but it took us about 10 years to communicate globally instantly. So on and so forth until the 2010, because when we started adopting technology fully. Just a bit before, Bitcoin started, the ideas of more stable blockchains, solving other type of issues in terms and around of technology. But starting 2010, we are very much empowered as users. We are very much empowered as persons and communicating, and everything is a lot more democratic. We are avoiding big corporations like we had before the 60s, where you could only have somewhere in your town selling you a fridge. You can now buy a fridge from the other side of Europe. So everything is changing very fast. The technology And this is on a scale of every 10 years. But nowadays, with each hackathon, with each happy idea that we each have in technology, life is changing and it's evolving every minute. This evolution is huge. And sometimes we don't keep up with all this. There are a lot of interesting questions around this. And all this technology made the world change a lot. On the left, we have the world as we knew it for a very long time. And on the right, we have the world now. What were skilled workers in the past now are in the top 0.75. And with each big breakthrough and with each great idea, they pass from the bottom pyramid to the top pyramid. DeFi, blockchain, cloud technologies, social networks, mobile connectivity made a lot of these top professional jumps in a very few time to the very close to the top of the pyramid. And that is going to keep like that for a very long time. It changes. This is one a good example, even how we see these technology people. 20 years ago, these technology people, all that we work in technology engineers, it was someone in a basement or in a garage trying to invent something. And now there's something that are put in doubt that with all that they do, they could actually solve world hunger. But they didn't get there only because of a happy idea. They got there with hard work. They understand how money, how the world works, and they need to jump to certain hoops to get there. So they know how to reply accordingly. So us, the technology people, are starting to ask for transparency. And we are starting to understand how many of the complicated and unknown and opaque things of the world can be actually solved with technology. With all this information we exchange, we store and we process continuously. The difference is on how we do it. You don't need blockchain to know there's corruption in the world or to control it. You might go to a page like this one, which everybody heard about Panama Papers, or the more recent one, Paradise Papers. You can go here and go through thousands and thousands of records of offshore companies, accounts, people, lawyers, and so on. But is that really corruption? Your company, being one of these almost 800 companies uncovered in these data leaks, are actually corrupt companies? Well, maybe they're not. I could say there are about 140 companies from there actually got sanctioned from all that number of hundreds of thousands. And I could say there are only about 90 politicians actually that got convicted, or they had to flee the country or whatsoever, which is a very small number. The issue with corruption many times is that we don't know what actually corruption is. We do not have a clear understanding of the term itself, as well as we use revolution or evolution or any other terms in our language wrongly. Being involved in a data leak doesn't mean you're a corrupt company. Having an offshore company doesn't mean you're a corrupt company. And you're a corrupt company when you steal directly from the people. The world is not yet a big united world. Maybe it will be someday, maybe it will be not. It's going to be complicated. From one country to another, from one city to another, we are very different. So it's very complicated to get this kind of structure, no, a whole united globe. We are still tribes. And each tribe tries to get the best for their own people. So you have countries, different types. Sometimes they're called tax havens, or sometimes they go by different names, where they give you certain benefits. Why do they give it to you? They give it to you because your own government doesn't give it to you for different kind of reason, politics, interests. Doesn't matter. So there's no corruption there. And I can give you two clear examples. Amazon has, when you buy Apple, when you buy an iPhone here, you don't buy it from Apple USA. You buy it from Apple Ireland. And that tax doesn't go to USA where they would pay a hefty 35% in income taxes. They pay a 2% in Ireland. European Union, US demanded Apple, tried to get a few hundred billions out of that from the revenue of Apple. Finally, they won and they said, Ireland has sovereignty and this is where I put my taxes. Facebook does the same thing, but more complicated. They build a company where they register the brand Facebook in Ireland. So Facebook USA pays a tax, pays a fee to Facebook Ireland, very huge one, for using the name. Is that corruption? It's not. Is that ethical? Well, it depends on who you ask. So how do you fix these things? Some people said that tax havens don't serve any kind of purpose nowadays, and there's a need for transparency. Well, that's a funny thing, because if you have transparency in your company, even though if you have your offshore accounts and you have your offshore companies and so on, as long as you declare all that, there's nothing wrong with it, it's legal. The moment you hide it under a blanket and someone actually scratches and gets to it, that becomes an issue because you're actually hiding things. So transparency doesn't solve it either. That maybe it should go through other channels. Okay. Blockchain can help this. Blockchain can help this a lot, but it cannot do it on its own. First, you need strong international regulation that goes on point. And these regulations have to actually specify how companies should register, declare taxes, and don't have opaque offshores where you cannot get any type of information of a business that's overseas. I mean, we have several companies here, and through every year, we declare all the taxes and all the companies we deal with, and you can actually request that for any company in Spain and most of them in Europe. But that's not the same all over the world. We are not a big, great world yet. Blockchain can help very much against corruption when you create a good framework where all the companies that you're going to work through, they have to register there. They have to declare their things there. And unless they are in this registry of transparency, you don't work with them. The thing with blockchain is that it promises a tamper-proof record. So once it's there, no one can change it. No one can alter it, supposedly, depends. But in most of the cases, it's going to be a lot more harder to make it disappear as a paper. So what do we do? From 2010 here, technology is part of us. It's part of our lives. It's part of everything. We use our phones, our WhatsApp, like it has been there forever. Well, it hasn't. It's been there for like 10, 20 years. But it gives us trust because it's in our hands. We can see it. We can communicate with each other. We can organize. So when we do not have enough confidence in our own elected people, well, in blockchain we trust, or in technology we trust. If we wouldn't trust in technology, there wouldn't be no fake news, there wouldn't be no WhatsApp, there wouldn't be no social networks. Okay. Thank you.